Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Conflicts. In this episode here, we'll be actually looking at a brand new brushless motor from our sponsors at banggood.com. For your very own, check out the link down below. Now, this is actually the new Racerstar 3650 sensorless motor, which we'll be installing into our brushed motor RC car. The end result is a lot more power and a lot more fun. But before we do, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the box. Alright, so this here is our box. It's actually quite small. Obviously, it just has our motor and an ESC in it. Now, the motor we'll be looking at today is a 3900 volt, and the actual ESC is a 60 amp. So it actually is quite powerful. Now, everything is quite plug and play, so it's actually very easy to install. So this here is our ESC. So you can look at it. It looks really nice. It's got a nice looking fan on top of it, and it's got some nice aluminum finish to it. So this is a 60 amp ESC by Rockstar. So we got different things going on here. Here's our on-off switch. These all just plug in here. And then here is actually the motor itself, which actually is really fast. Wow, look at that. This thing looks really sick. It's got a nice looking print on here. It's a 4-pole, waterproof resistant motor. And yeah, this is all just plug and play. Alright, now that we see how the motor looks like, let's go ahead and install it. Alright, so let's go ahead and install this motor. So the first thing I would actually recommend is first opening the cover of the actual RC itself and disconnecting any wires that may be in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery, and then these are the two parts that we're going to actually swap out. Now, the motor itself is actually connected from the bottom here, so we're going to go ahead and try this out. I'm going to go ahead and remove these caps as well, and kind of exposing the motor itself so it'd be easier to swap out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and remove these screws here to expose the actual motor itself so I can go ahead and remove it. Alright, so now that we have exposed the motor, we can just go ahead and unscrew this, and then the actual motor itself should be able to come off. Alright, so now that I have the motor out, I'm going to go ahead and remove the ESC. Alright, so the ESC itself is actually just taped on, so we can just go ahead and peel that off. And then we can go ahead and cut these all off here. Alright, so the next thing I have to do is actually remove these screws here, so I can actually disconnect the ESC from the actual wireless port. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I removed the cap here. And then this here is going to be our actual channel, like the wireless channel here for the actual remote itself. So we actually have to disconnect this, so gotta cut some more zip ties. Okay, and then the ESC one is actually, looks like it's in the middle, so let's go ahead and take that out. And there you have it. So our motor is disconnected as well as our ESC. And now what we do is we just go ahead and swap it out and put the new parts in, and hopefully everything works. So let's go ahead and take off this actual clip itself. Alright, so we're finally ready. I got the pin on here, so I'm going to go ahead and just slide this in and line it up properly. So it should be good right about there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and screw this in, and we're trying to get a close fit as much as possible, so there's not much resistance between the two. So let's go ahead and tighten that. Alright, so our motor's finally installed. We can go ahead and install our ESC. So this is actually, it kind of just clips in place, but what we want to do is make sure we plug it correctly into our actual box for the antenna. So as previously mentioned, this one went in the middle, so we're just going to go ahead and plug that in like so. Okay. Alright, so now that the ESC is plugged in, we can go ahead and just mount this, and then everything else should just kind of fall in place. Okay, and then we just kind of screw everything back together, and we're set. Alright, so everything is finally installed and ready to go. So let's go ahead and take it outside and give it a test drive. Alright, well there you have it. This car is 10 times more fun than what it used to be. Now, it's actually a great upgrade to go from a brush motor to a brushless motor, just because you get a full potential out of the actual car itself, not to mention you get a lot more torque and a lot more power. Now, something you should note is that you do have to upgrade the batteries on most RC cars when you change the motor. For instance, this car itself came with a 1500 mAh battery originally. I upgraded it to a 3300. The reason being is you're not getting the full potential out of the motor unless you actually change it. You have to supply it with more power. Now, another thing you could do is you can actually program the ESC with the ESC programmer. Now, what that does is it gives you the full control over the torque, the speed, as well as the braking capability of the actual car itself. So you can actually create it where you can actually do wheelies, which is really cool to think about. Now, if you had any questions or if you wanted to purchase your very own, check out down below. Otherwise, thank you again for watching and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.